Welcome to Cathy'sRight.com, your pit stop for the conservative mind, heart, and soul. Today's special guest is Mykel Barthelemy. I am so very honored to have her as a guest. She's an advisor at Blexit of Georgia. She's also a co-host on the show that I participate on occasionally, Black Conservative Female. She's a former candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives. Also, she's an author of the book called Trump is Not a Racist, and Here's Why. VP Operations. God bless her. I am so grateful to people like Mykel Barthelemy. She comes from the same roots as I do, and my family comes from... My mother was born 125 miles away from where she was born, which is interesting. There's just so much about her to like, and I'm so thankful that she gave some of her time to our little show because she's an awesome human being, and she's doing great things for this country. Well, once upon a time when I thought I was the only Black conservative Republican in the world because I was surrounded by nothing but liberals, and it was a kind of a lonely existence, really, because I didn't think that there were other people like me in the world. Well, I'm not so lonely anymore. There are thousands, maybe millions of Black conservative Republicans, constitutionalists, people who want to preserve this great country and keep it from falling into the abyss where the Democrats want to take us. So while I was wallowing in self-pity and doom and gloom, woe is me. This country's gonna go to hell in a basket because of the dang Democrats. Guess what? There are people out there fighting just like me. There are people who are dynamic, people who are fighters, who don't back down. People like Mykel Barthelemy. God bless her. I can't believe I got her on my show because I'm small potatoes compared to her. But I sure enjoyed talking with her. Gosh, I hope I get to do that again. She is so fascinating. Here's our conversation. Cathy'sRight.com welcomes Mykel Barthelemy. And that's scary.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you look at, there's no coincidences. Think about it. I mean, you have the COVID pandemic, and we all know that, okay, whatever happened to the flu, whatever happened to the cold, whatever happened to people dying from normal diseases, the hospitals are empty because they emptied out the hospitals to try to create this, I would say this, what's the name of that little psyop thing so that they can make people believe that something is going on when it really isn't. Basically, this is theater on this highest level being played out on a global scale to try to psychologically manipulate us into compliance, into the new world order. I mean, wearing masks, what does it do? Absolutely nothing. I mean,
Nothing.
You wear a mask, you get sick. You don't wear a mask, you actually get sicker from wearing masks. I think there's something called bacterial pneumonia that you can actually get from inhaling germs and diseases that's collected on your mask all day, every day. Everybody cannot afford to buy a disposable mask every single day, and nobody wants to wear it. It's not healthy. God gave us two nostrils and oxygen for a reason. I don't know anything that's healthier than oxygen. I don't know anything that's not healthier than sea air, salt water, and sunlight. So, and those are the very things, those were the first things under attack in the beginning. You know, in California, we're both, lived in California, and salt water, there's nothing, I mean, it's therapeutic to live around sea air. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's so true. I found that to be really therapeutic. I remember being a little girl and going to the beach and having an owie, and I'd come back from the beach, it was healed, from being in the salt water and the sand, and it was healed. It was like you healed a lot faster. And I wonder, because if the masks were so effective, wouldn't the doctors be walking around in the hospitals all day long wearing them? Because there's a lot of sick people there, right?
It's true. And mask is namely for sick people, and there's a certain type of medical grade mask that they wear in the hospitals. But even if you look at on the boxes of those masks, they'll tell you that this is not intended to prevent or cure any disease at all. Yeah. So it's all about compliance and all about, first of all, they don't care about us. I was about to curse, but they don't.
They don't give a, I know.
They don't give two rat tails about us. They don't care if we live or die. Come on, if they don't care anything about unborn fetuses in the womb, they really don't care about the rest of
That's
us.
so true. That's so true. I thought about that the other day. I think I wrote it down, or I might have mentioned it. But I thought the same people who think it's okay to dismember a baby on the way out of the womb and crush its skull while yanking it out of the mother, talk about separating families, yanking it out of the mother. If that's okay in their head, then lying, stealing, and cheating is nothing.
So you're right. So you talk about, okay, a woman has a right to choose my body, my choice. So I can make a choice what goes on in my vagina, but I can't make a choice about what goes on my face. Or where I put my body, or where we place where we are, who we allow in our homes. I mean, they've taken it a step further, and from going from 2 weeks of slow to spread till no summer vacations and no Thanksgiving dinners, all the way until who you can have in your house. Now they're trying to say in some parts of the country that you have to wear a mask inside of your house.
That's
How can they
crazy.
mandate? Did you hear about the 74 sheriff departments in California that refuse to enforce this COVID Thanksgiving curfew lockdown that Newsom
Good for them.
Yep.
Good for them. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yep. That's so intrusive. It has gotten too much, and they want to see just how far they can make us go.
Yeah.
And there's a guy in New Mexico. I forget his name. He was on my show. First name Jeff. He is protesting. He's been standing in front of the state capitol protesting. He says, I will not comply. And he's lost, he's losing his business, his livelihood, everything. People in New Mexico are suffering, all over the country, suffering. I feel like this is an attack on the middle class, because those mom and pop stores that are shutting down, Walmart's still going, all the big time stores. So the middle class, all they're going to be left are going to be the rich people who are up here, and then the people who serve them, and in between.
Think about it, because you're right, because it's shutting down the mom and pops.
Yeah, that's the middle class.
Yep, and empowering the Amazon, your Walmart, your huge retail operations, and disenfranchising everybody else. So they're getting richer. I heard they've gotten like billions, like $54 billion richer.
Oh yes,
since the pandemic, and this, you know what, and we need to get rid of that word. This is not a pandemic. I don't know. They changed the definitions of everything.
They do,
so that we can. If you notice that they'll do it. In real time, they'll do it just to try to fit a narrative. They changed the definition of president-elect in Wikipedia. They probably did it in dictionary.com to also have that.
That's
that
sly. They're slick. They're sort of slimy, slick. And
they are.
They changed the definitions of words, like good is bad, bad is good. It has been going on. I pay attention to words because I'm into languages and things. And I see it happening. I'm like, like my children, as soon as they went to college, they all became liberals, except for my son, who was in the Air Force, thank God. But but the rest of them, as soon as they went to college, oh my gosh, all of a sudden they knew everything. I knew nothing. And Mom, we don't say that anymore. Why? Who says I can't say that anymore? We don't say this anymore. We don't say that anymore because we don't want to offend anybody. Well, it never offended anybody before. You know, we don't say that. And who's making these rules? Some 12-year-old somewhere going, I don't like that word, and then it sort of spreads?
No, so some loser professor probably paid off by the Chinese Communist Party to infiltrate our academia institutions, and basically indoctrinating the next generation. And that's what they're doing. I mean, the universities are nothing more than indoctrination camps. They've indoctrinated us since they made it mandatory. Well, since the 60s, you're right, because that's where that other movement came from, women's lib and abortion and all that. You're right. So it came from the 60s, but then they have to put a twist on it because America was largely, skilled workers and blue collar workers. And around the 80s, when I was, going to school, they were like, okay, well, in order to be successful, you have to get a college degree. You have to get, what if I don't have a college fund? Okay, well, you need to go ahead and get a student loan and get a grant, and then, don't worry about it. You'll have a job. You'll be able to pay it off when you get a job, when you get out.
Get everybody in debt.
Yeah, no job, didn't know anything about credit. You're in debt, can't get anything, and you still can't find a job. Why? Because you don't have any skills. Now we found out, okay, you actually have to compete in society. You have to have experience of some sort. But yes, they've become indoctrination camps, and
It's so
it's
sad. It's so
it's
sad
not
to
for the
see.
good.
Well, it
It's
was
not for the
happening when
greater
I
good.
was in college many ions ago. I started in 1980. I tell you, I on Facebook and Twitter, I still follow some of my old professors just to see what they're up to. And they're all leftists. I mean, complete for Bernie, for one thing. And the stuff that they say, it's they think that they're the ones that are open-minded. They think they're the ones that are not racist. And that, like, one of my old professors, when the pandemic first started, and he was talking about, how we should comply, and he had been complaining about all the toothless people at Walmart. I love Walmart. And so, and then he goes, he's writing to his other friend who's also a communist, who was extolling the virtues of Antifa. They were talking to each other, and he goes, well, I decided I was going to go to the store today, and I chose to go to Target because I just think Walmart would be just too dangerous. I'm like, serious, dude? Really? So it's like that. So that to me, it speaks volumes. This elitist, why is Target cleaner, or I don't know what it is, but it was just sort of like what's prejudice? Not racist,
Yeah.
prejudice. It was a prejudice. It's a class prejudice.
Classism. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's repulsive. I've been with all sorts of people all over the world, all sorts of people, and that to me, and I feel comfortable anywhere. I have friends who are truck drivers, and I have a friend who's actually a prince, and I have pictures and stuff, and I'm like, when I was in Europe, and they said, what does your father do? I said, trucking. They just assumed he owned a trucking company because my last name was Knox, and but anyways, the only person who knew was Prince Albert of Monaco. He was the only one who knew my father was a truck driver, and he drove. He made sure I got to go to all the good parties. But then, I still friends with my trucker friends, and we talk, and some of them are coming aboard the Republican Party, some of them are just rejecting the Democratic Party finally. But I'm comfortable with everybody, and I find classism, like Prince Albert was not a classist at all. And there's a lot of people who are like him, and like me, and like you, a lot more of us than that elitist college professor that I had. And he actually asked me on a date back when I was his student. And I was thinking, that doesn't sound right. I said, but after I get my A in your class, I'd be happy to go to dinner with you.
And there they are. I mean, they're predators. And if you think about it, I mean, the Democrat Party is still trying to ride off the coattails of JFK and the civil rights movement, and trying to perpetuate themselves or pass themselves off as the party of the working class. And you still have, our parents, people from that genre, from that generation, that still believes that this is the party of JFK, or what they believe to be Martin Luther King, even though we heard different about Martin Luther King's political affiliations.
Yes.
But they try to pass
I still believe he was a
off.
Republican.
That's what they say. But they're saying this, but in the same breath, they're condemning what they call Trump supporters, who is the new Republican Party.
Yes.
It has been the new Republican Party as a party of the working class. So how can you say that you condemn uneducated, lower wage earners as the dregs of society, but yet you were supposed to be their party? But you see how it works out. It's a conflict of interest here. But
hypocrisy on their part.
And they wonder why you have people in the working class and people who are skilled workers that's now part of the Trumpism, the Trump party. See, Trump started a new movement. He made populism cool. He made nationalism cool. He made republicanism cool. He taught Republicans how to have balls and grit and fight and be tenacious. And I'm happy to be a part of that movement. I became a Republican when I saw, basically I was never a Democrat, to be honest with you, because none of it made sense. But I became a Republican when I realized that, hey, they want to get rid of the Democrat Party. They want to destroy our Christian morals and values. It did not align with the Word of God to me
at all.
Yeah, so I had to make sure that I wasn't a part of that.
Yeah, that was something I could not be a part of. I could not pull a lever and know that that person is going to vote for an abortion. That was, people say, oh, you're a single issue. Well, if the only issue is life, nothing else matters if you don't have life. If you don't respect life. And when all those people were shooting, mass shootings, that comes from the mentality of a lack of respect for human life. If they respected life, that wouldn't even be something they would conceive of doing. So when you can kill babies by the millions, how
and it
hard
doesn't
is
bother you. And it doesn't bother you one bit. But yet, no, you want to call us selfish for not wearing a mask, but you don't mind snatching a baby out of the mother's womb and at the same time saying that it's her right. How about that you have a disproportionate amount of women who suffer mentally from depression and thoughts of suicide after killing their unborn children? Anytime a woman wants to get rid of her baby, the most precious thing that her body can that can ever inhabit her body, which is a baby, that woman is in mental duress. How about getting her some counseling? Anytime, it's almost suicide. It's the same thing as basically suicide. So you're doing like assisted suicide, but suicide on, you're suiciding this innocent baby and not getting the mother the mental help that she needs. So basically they're saying, well, women have the right to choose, but you don't think about what happens to her after that abortion happens. I had a friend of mine who is a pro-life advocate, and she told me that in New York, when they said that Biden was the projected winner and president-elect, so you had some people in New York that came out and Planned Parenthood dancing in the streets, and they were discharging a patient, and she was in a wheelchair, and she was like cramped in a fetal position, from having this botched abortion. And they're out there, the person that was wheeling her in the wheelchair was dancing because Biden so-called had won. So you have this allegory, and I asked her, do you have pictures or a video? Maybe we can make something out of this to send a message to, hey, look, these people are evil.
Yes, it's evil, the whole thing. They don't even think of it as evil, because to them, if you don't have really a relationship with God, then there is no good or evil.
You're right.
Just whatever feels good or whatever. And it's just, I have a good friend that's, she's a sidewalk counselor, and she's asked me to come out there. I go on the marches every year, when I can, but I said, I would just sit there and cry the whole time. I would just say, please don't, because I would just be in a ball of tears. I don't know how she can hold it together, but she's a strong Christian woman, and I am so proud of her. And I do everything I can. She'll call me from the sidewalk, and my prayer warriors, I got this girl and she's thinking about it. So if all of you will pray for her right now, and her name is Jackie, just in case you're watching, Jackie. But she will do that, and we all stop whatever you do, and we will say a prayer for whoever she's talking to, because that's got to happen. That's a disconnect between the mind and the heart, I think, when a mother can kill her own child. There's a mental problem. I've seen people when I was in college. I remember many girls. I remember one thing is everybody wanted to lose their virginity, and then that was followed by many abortions.
Wow.
And it was just in my first year dormitory. That was sad. And I talk about suicide. I know one really wonderful girl, beautiful girl, and she didn't believe really in abortion, and she believed in love and all of that, and she got pregnant, and she changed completely after that. She thought she was going to be okay with it, but she completely changed. And I picked her up a couple times. She called me to pick her up. you know,
Mhm.
and then I didn't hear from her anymore, and she moved, but
Mhm.
I had to pick her up because she couldn't drive home, and it just she was depressed all the time after that, and nobody
Wow.
knows what happened to her. Her boyfriend, the
Mhm.
boyfriend she was in love with,
Mhm.
while she was going to have her abortion, he went duck hunting.
Mm.
That's what she
Mm.
told me. I said,
Mm.
oh
Mm.
my goodness. So while you're, it was just, I can't even imagine. So for me, we've got to change the mentality of this country
Mm.
so that they know how
Mhm.
wrong this is. When did the disconnect happen? I think the sexual revolution, which was a lie,
Mhm.
that was when it really, this disconnect between mother and child.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when they talk about separating children at the border, the
It's all
ultra,
gaslighting. It's to try to make them seem like they're compassionate and all of this
like they
ridiculousness,
care.
like they care, and they care about nothing.
Thank you so much for being on
Thank you.
kathyswright.com. And I will have this published tomorrow.
Okay, God bless
Thank
you. Thank you,
God bless
Kathy.
you too. You're a wonderful person. Oh, I wanted to ask you, are you
Mhm.
thinking of running for Congress again?
Thinking about it, thinking about it. Yeah.
I'm going to pray about it because I really want you
Okay.
to.
Okay.
The world needs more of you. Thank you,
Amen.
Mykel.
Yeah. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you for
God
having
bless you.
me. Bye
All right.
bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to kathyswright.com. Make sure you subscribe today. Bye.